guys, it's SJ. Happy Baby Name Monday. Welcome round if you're brand new. I'm SJ and this is the home of Baby Name Mondays. I do new baby name lists every single week here on YouTube so you can get tons of inspiration if you're naming a baby. I have you covered. I've done so much research. So don't forget to hit subscribe and stick around so you can listen to all the baby lists coming up and join in the comment section below. I really need your help adding to this one because it is place names. This has probably been one of the ones we talked about doing for the longest. All of us here, we love place names, and while I've kind of peppered in place names in lots of my lists, this is dedicated to finding the best cities, states, countries, islands, mountains from around the world that make great baby names as well. And I've looked into kind of not just where they rank and their meanings, but also what the places means and where the words came from and a bit of history of this town, so you get tons of information and hopefully fall in love. So don't forget, stick around. I've got about 19, which is a weird number, but that's just how many I have. First up is an English county, and it is Somerset. I've always loved Somerset, and to me it feels like, because Summer is such a popular girl's name, Somerset feels like a really gorgeous evolution of it, or even a boyish version if you love summer. I just love it with the O. I just think it looks so gorgeous. And Somerset is a beautiful county here, like a state in the UK, and it's where Glastonbury is, so it's where Glastonbury Festival is held, it's where Stonehenge is, so it's kind of got a real hippie vibe to it. I think it would make a really quirky middle spot, or for a girl she could be Somerset and she went by Summer, for instance, which is my niece's name, which her birthday. Happy birthday, Summer. I just really love it. It's totally unranked at the moment, but I think it works so well. And I found that in Roman times, because all of these places got their names so long ago, and it was called Somerset because it was so rainy in that area. It was only really fit for people to live during the summer, so that's how it came to be known as Somerset. So that was a really sweet little fact, I thought. Next up is the name Ibiza, and that is actually the Catalan name for Ibiza. So here in the UK we would say Ibiza, some people say Ibiza, everything goes really, but the Catalan name for it, so the Spanish, is Ibiza. So let me know, I'm pronouncing this how I would in like my dialect, but we're all from different places and we've got different pronunciations of it. But I think it is such a pretty name. Ibiza is such a popular destination with kind of like the boho side of the island. I've been once and I've fallen in love, hoping to go next year. Just the sort of vibe of it, and just how beautiful it is, how quiet it is if you're away from the super clubs, or you might love the clubs and all of that side of it. So you might want to bring a bit of that love into your baby's name. And I think this is a beautiful way of saying it. It's being used, it is in use, but very low. So unranked last year, but a couple of the years before it's kind of been spiked, where there's been 3 babies named it. So I think some people are picking up and using it, but I love it. I thought it was so pretty and unique. Oxford is another English city. It's famous around the world because of Oxford University, and there's also lots of TV programs set there. I'm sure they filmed parts of Harry Potter there, and it's a beautiful city. It was been very renowned for a very long time, but Oxford actually means a place where ox, so where cattle, cross the stream, the ford, and that was sort of its original name because that was what would happen there. So it's really interesting to know that. So if you have got links to like cows, which sounds really weird, but some people really do love cows, or is just interested in knowing it. But Ford, of course, is a very wearable name, but nobody is going with Oxford, and I think it is so smart and lovely as a name. I grew up not far from Oxford actually, so it's a place I know quite well, and my sister used to live there, and it's absolutely beautiful. It was kind of known for a very long time as like the second city in the UK, and that was from a very historic time. King Henry II bestowed residents of Oxford with the same rights as residents in the capital, which I don't really know what that means, but apparently had special privileges. It sounds very Hunger Games, the capital, and then Oxford had the same prestige, and that's how then a lot of scholars went there. There was a lot of religious houses there. And actually the first Oxford colleges started with theologians who were translating the Greek myths to try to bring kind of religion and the sort of Greek myths together, which was really interesting. That's how that sort of started. There were 2 colleges that opened in Oxford to study of that, which obviously became very famous and grew into Oxford University as we know it all around the world now, one of the top universities in the world. So it's very well known for art, science, literature, culture, architecture, and what a gorgeous name. I really, really like it. Would you see it more as a boy name or a girl name? Obviously all of these are gender neutral because they're just places. A name that is in use is Sahara. So Sahara literally translates as desert. It is the biggest desert in the African continent, and obviously it's a very exotic place, a place where lots of people have set movies and very glamorous photo shoots out in the Sahara Desert. And with Sarah being such a well-known name, I'm Sarah Jane, Sahara is a really lovely way of modernising it. It's still not massively in use. It's at number 1170, so yeah, really not in much use at all, but I think because it's such a well-known desert, everyone could kind of spell it, and it's a blend of Sarah and Zara really, isn't it, Sahara, and I think it works so well. I think it's a really pretty sound. Going popular, I would say one of the most popular names, Sienna's obviously really popular as well, but Florence is at number 15 for girls in the UK, and it's just totally beamed. I've never been to Florence, I'd absolutely love to go. When I say beamed, that's funny, it's because I've just read it, because it means to blossom, which I think is so beautiful, Florence, to blossom. My daughter's middle name's Blossom. I just think that Florence is really, really lovely. But if we're looking for something, it's because Florence has been pinched or it's just too popular, then the local Italian word for Florence, the internet tells me, is Firenze. So that's like really, really lovely, and I really like it. To me it seems like masculine a little bit, I don't know why, but very wearable for boy or girl, Firenze, and then that is the actual local dialect. So it's a really, really lovely way of mixing up the names to look at. Obviously it sort of really weirdly, it took me a long time to figure out that we call the countries, what I would call the countries is the English word for it, and then obviously other countries have different words for even their own country, which is really interesting. So I'd love it, because I know you're a global community here, so let me know what different words you have for the different countries and the different cities, because it's really fascinating and it's a great way of choosing a place name, I think. So how about the name Ireland? Ireland I think is beautiful. Irish names are so popular. I've done an Irish name list here on my channel, and obviously a lot of us, because Irish people were known for travelling, moving across particularly to America. My own family history, my granddad's brothers all emigrated and they're all in America and Canada, and he stayed behind because he was the oldest of quite a lot of boys, and he had to stay behind to look after his mum. But my mum is from Belfast, so yeah, Irish history in my family, and I love the idea of using the name Ireland just by itself. I think it's beautiful, and it's a very traditional way of naming, because Ireland became called Ireland because of the Irish goddess Ire. I think I'm probably saying that wrong. Ire, and she was a mythological goddess who became the mother of Ireland, and that's why it became known as Ireland. Her name has also been anglicised again to Erin. So Erin is the same, it means island, and she had a sister, Maeve. And Maeve is a beautiful, really, really popular name at the moment. But I think that Ireland by itself has just got such beauty and simplicity and very glamorous to me. I just think it sounds so gorgeous. Ireland is also known as the Emerald Isle, so she's got that beautiful colour linked to her name. Everything in my room is green. I love the colour green. I think that emerald is a beautiful colour association to being called Ireland as well. So do you know anyone called Ireland? It's unranked at the moment, but the unranked means that they don't count every single baby. If it's not very many have used it yet, it won't quite show up. A name that is in use is the name Devon. So I've got a lovely friend on here called Devon at the Drake's Nest who does great baby name videos, and I will pop her list below. She did place names as well a while ago, I'm sure. And her name is Devon, but she's over in New York. And Devon is a place here, down by the coast in England, right on the end of Britain, down in the corner. And so Devon actually meant to defend, because back in Anglo-Saxon times they were the defenders. They were like often having to defend the country down in Devon, and that's how it got its place, defender. It works really well for boys or for girls, and it's sort of being used for both. There were 53 boys named Devon last year and 26 girls. So a really historic name, a really beautiful part of our country, and one that seems to be travelling around a little bit. So let me know, do you know a Devon? I think it's such, again, I think it with that V, it does seem quite glam, like an either kind of, you know, like a celebrity type of name, Devon to me. What do you think of it? A beautiful name is the name China. So I really like the sound of it. Obviously porcelain is also called China here, and that's because porcelain was often made over in China when it started first getting imported over to the UK and around the world, and it just became called China. And I just think it's got that beautiful sound of that fragility and that porcelain and that kind of nice association to that as well, China. So to me it sounds quite simple, minimalistic, quite sweet as a name. China itself is known as, it was a silk path, and so it came from a Sanskrit word chin, which I think was associated to silk. I'm not 100% sure. When I was researching it, there's loads of different information about how China became known as China. I just think it's a lovely name. There are some people called China out there. Again, it's quite underused and it's quite unique and special. Next up is the name Bali. It is such a simple name. So Bali as in the country, but I just realised that you can actually say Bali as in like wheat and barley, like the grain, which I really like. But Bali is an absolutely stunning island. It is so spiritual. It has over like 20,000 temples, so it's a place of real spiritual pilgrimage almost. If you're born on Bali, what I've read, which is fascinating to me, there's only 4 names. Whether you're a boy or a girl, you're given one of 4 names, and it's just by the order in which you're born into the family. That must get really confusing, but let me know if you know more about that, because I find that so fascinating. It's a place I've always wanted to go. I just find it so fascinating since Bali High from South Pacific. So Bali High is like a mythical island that kind of you sometimes can only see. It's like a dream place where like your dreams come true, or like realization happens to you on Bali High. And that's based on a real island out near Bali. And funnily enough, the actual island where they filmed Bali High, parts of it were filmed in Ibiza. So that really blew my mind. So I was like, I actually been to Bali High because we were on a boat trip, and they're like, that's where they filmed part of it. And I was like having this emotional moment just to myself on this like crazy boat trip. But it's such a stunning name. I think it just brings a calmness, even though Bali was actually named, it was an island of sacrifice and resurrection. So yeah, don't know what happened there in the olden days, but now it is known as a very kind of spiritual place, a place of calm, a place to go to have an awakening really. So I think it just got a lovely feel to it, the name and the place. What a bucket list place to go. Rio. Getting more popular again. Rio is really well used, 227 boys and about 25 girls last year. And Rio actually means River of January, which I didn't know. So if you're having a January baby, then it's got that really nice link as well. But in Japanese, it's got a different meaning. In Japanese, it actually means place of the cherry blossoms. So it's a really popular name in Japan as well. Apparently it's always in like the top lists, Rio, place of the cherry blossoms, and the River of January after like Rio de Janeiro, which makes sense now when you think about it. So how lovely is that? I know it's a really, really popular name, and for boys or for girls. So it works so lovely, it's so simple. It's got the little O at the end, Rio, yeah, I love it. Vienna is stomping up through the charts. Vienna, it actually means forest stream, and it's at number 285. How lovely is that? It is the capital of Austria. Won't talk again about how much I want to go to Austria, because this video is just like a travel wish list really for me. But Vienna, obviously it works perfectly as a name. It's very well known. It's known as the city of music. Lots of kind of musical feelings coming out of there. It's also the home of Sigmund Freud, which is really interesting. So it's sometimes called the city of dreams as well. So yeah, what a lovely, lovely, gorgeous name. Very well in use. Stomping up through the charts. It's come from nowhere. It was unranked a few years ago, and now it's already at number 285. It's like an alternative to Siena, I guess, which is basically even more popular than Vienna. Berlin, a lot of these are named from the heist, because I loved place names from the heist, and here's called Berlin. It works so well as a name. The symbol of Berlin is also a bear, because Berlin came from a Slavic mixture of 2 words meaning swamp and bear, and then it became known as Berlin. So it must have been very swampy, and I think there's a lot of bears. And it's a symbol. So you could have the baby called Berlin and the nickname Bear if you really like the name Bear but don't want to use it. I don't know if Berlin is more wearable because it's unranked, and Bear obviously is in use, but I thought it was a really cute little link. Berlin is an amazing city, obviously the Berlin Wall and all the history. I've been to Berlin, and it is such a place of history and culture, and then this amazing party scene, like crazy clubs, like the most out there people, and just like you're eyes are just on stalks. One of the best cities I've ever been to. Such a lovely vibe to it. So I really associate it with my positive trip to Berlin, with the guy from the heist. Don't tell me any spoilers, because I was trying to research it without reading anything about the heist. But I think it's a really, really gorgeous name. Going back to cities, how about Bronx? So the Bronx, everyone says the Bronx, it's never just Bronx, but I thought it really kind of works as a strong boy name with the X. Everyone loves the X, and actually the Bronx was named after one of the early European settlers into New York, who was Jonas Bronx, spelt differently, and he was actually Swedish, and that was his plot of land and area, and then the river became known as the Bronx, spelt with a CK, and eventually it became known as the Bronx as we all now know it. It's known as kind of like ghetto place a little bit, you know. Lots of like artists have come from the Bronx and talked about it a lot as a place you can obviously go and visit if you get over to New York. And yeah, I just think it works really well as a name. People really like those strong names, like Bruno as well, and so Bronx kind of really, I wonder if it works really well as a name. Camden is really well used. Camden is in North London. There's already 26 boys in Camden last year, unranked for girls, but I do know a little girl named Camden. Camden is like a very 60s place. It's the 60s music, or more recently Amy Winehouse, the big Camden set. There's a lot of pubs, a lot of, you know, maybe illegal partying, if we can call it that. But it's obviously, like most places, it's been kind of gentrified now, Camden, and it's a bit more less rough and ready than it used to be. But it's a beautiful name, and it is traditionally a name. So it was the Camden family were actually from Gloucestershire, and then they moved up to North London, and that was their surname. There was an Earl of Camden, I think he was, and then the area became known as Camden. So yeah, Camden Market is famous everywhere throughout the world, I think. It's a bit like Ibiza town. It's like a real hippie place, lots and lots of stalls, lots of music, lots of kind of like hippie stalls and alternative medicines, and then homeware and things like that. So I'm sure you can still find the cool bits, areas of Camden. But yeah, beautiful name. One name that's beamed onto the charts is the name Oslo. Oslo is the capital of Norway. There were 8 babies named Oslo last year, and that's come from nowhere. I know it's a favourite of a lot of yours. The O sound going nowhere, still super duper popular for boys or girls, but this seems to be hitting it in the boys charts at the moment. I've never been to Oslo, but I really love the sound of it, and the L is really great. A bit like a modern version of Oscar, with those sort of Norwegian vibes going for it. Interestingly, Oslo has always been called Oslo, and then for a little while it changed its name. So there was a big fire in 1624, and the king at the time changed it to, he was Christian, so he called it Christiania, after himself. And then I think when he came out of rule, they all just changed it back to Oslo. Bit awkward, but yeah, I thought that was a really funny fact. And Oslo is a lovely, lovely city, a great name, and I'm sorry if I'm giving away one of your favourites. I'm going to get told off in the comments, aren't I? Kyoto is a Japanese name, so there's Tokyo and Kyoto, and Kyoto is more it was the capital for like 1,000 years, and it's more the traditional side of Japan, and then Tokyo is the more modern side of Japan. So I think when people visit, they try to see both. So Tokyo, great name, unranked, the heist, and Kyoto though is a bit more rare. I worked with a girl called Kyoto, and I really loved her name. Obviously it was lovely. It's kind of got a really nice rhythm to it, and it's phonetic, you know, you can kind of pronounce it and spell it quite easily, and I just think it's got a really lovely, if you love Japan, I know so many of my friends are just obsessed with it, then it could be a really lovely way of bringing that passion into a name. Nairobi. Nairobi is a lovely name. I think about Naomi and all those names. Nairobi again just feels so wearable. Capital of Kenya, known for its beauty. Apparently it's a very unparalleled, beautiful place. And Nairobi means cool water, which is so nice to have that kind of calmness to it, and that nature meaning, because obviously it's the Nairobi River. The city is known as Green City in the Sun, which is so beautiful as well, isn't it? It's got like very calming, pretty, watery vibes to it, Nairobi. And with river names becoming quite popular, I think about Hudson a few years ago, maybe people wouldn't have used that. Maybe Nairobi will become one that people use a lot more. What do you think of it? Santiago, the largest city in Chile, a really well-known name for boys because it actually links back. It's a Spanish form of James, which was a derivative of Jacob from the Bible. So if you've got a James in your family who you wanted to commemorate, or a Jacob, then you could go with Santiago, Santi, as a cute little nickname. It's a really popular name, so did I already say it's number 427, but it's on the rise, so it's getting used a lot more. If you have Spanish roots or Chilean roots, it's a lovely, lovely name. And last up, it's a little bit of fun, but it is the name Tapanga. So who remembers Tapanga from Boy Meets World? That programme, was it a big hit? I don't know, I just always remember her name, Tapanga. She's named after the Tapanga Mountains in California, and the story was that the producer or the writer was just driving through and they needed a name for her, and they knew she was going to be quite a hippie girl, and then they saw Tapanga and like, that's perfect, because it's known as a very arty, cultural, hippie place, film festivals, arts festivals and places like that. So like that is sort of name that type of parent would have given their daughter, Tapanga. And I've always liked it. It always stuck in my mind as like a really unique name. It's not being used. And I wonder, quite a lot of people probably won't remember Boy Meets World. I don't know why I remember it so much. And it might be a beautiful, beautiful name with that real kind of boho background, Tapanga. So those are my name places. I hope I haven't spoken for too long. I wanted to give you lots of names this week, with lots of fun little facts, and I hope you enjoy listening to them. Let me know what names you would add to this list. There will be so many in this category. There are amazing names. It's such a fun one because you can go anywhere with it, and obviously when you're choosing a baby's name, often we want to go to places that we care about, that are special to us and our family, or our heritage or our history, and it's a very traditional way of naming people after the place where you can find them or something like that. So it's a great way of naming a baby. I will see you next week for more baby name lists. Say hi below. Don't forget to hit subscribe if you've enjoyed this video, and I will see you soon. Bye guys.